Tonight, Guts to Racing brings us from the Rockstar Husqvarna team, Malcolm Stewart. What's up, Mookie?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing, man?
Hanging in there. Just been cruising, honestly.
Yeah. Well, how you feeling? How's the knee recovery going?
It's been going really good, actually. Really just been doing full going at least 3-4 days a week. As far as that, it's just taking the process, man. It's a lot to take in. I always, try to tell people, I'm like, it's not easy. I just remember like walking in the hospital next thing I'm getting wheeled out of there. It's just like, it's all the little stuff that you take life for granted, and it's almost like a little reset button. And so you kind of just have these little short-term goals and just kind of keep working from there. So that's pretty much been my whole deal. But yeah, I guess I'd say it's not fun, but now I'm starting to kind of finally we're 5 weeks in now. So it's starting to be some light at the end of this tunnel.
Are you a guy who can actually watch the races while you're injured, or is it tough for you to do just mentally?
Yeah, I mean it's tough, but at the same time, like I always could say, like things could be worse, and so I in the beginning, of course, when it first happened to me, and I didn't race Anaheim 2. That really kind of ate me up more alive, and it was more just accepting that we have to run through these steps. And I guess it was that was my biggest battle, was just accepting that, like, the whole Supercross season is done, just accepting that. And of course, watching the guys on the weekends and stuff like that is, you're sitting on the sideline. There's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, it does bum you out a little bit, but like, I guess can say, like, I'm past that stage now. So I'm more of just when I watch the race, if anything, I'm just learning for what I can do when I come back to racing. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I look at it at this point. It's not like, oh man, I know I can beat this guy or beat that guy. Like, that part of me is already gone. It's more like just watching those guys and learning, the mistakes and the how these guys race and stuff like that. So, if anything, it's more information for me. So whenever I come back racing, I'll be ready to go.
With the speed that you showed last season and the early into this season, and then seeing the way things have kind of unfolded, where Tomac will have a whack race of outside the top 5. Chase has been throwing away some wins, and Cooper's just kind of been there. If you did have to, where would you put yourself into the mix at this point, showing with the speed that you had?
I mean, of course, basing off of everything I brung last year, there's no doubt that I would be running in the top 3. It's just a matter of, you guys know how racing goes, so everything's got to come into play, and we're at what, I mean, obviously 10 rounds deep now or so, and you can see how quick things can change and literally with one lap to go. So it's just about being in a race. I think Cooper, of course, he hasn't been necessarily the fastest guy for the last few rounds, but he's been the most consistent guy of being there. And that's kind of like, I just kind of look at him like, that was kind of like me last year, just being in the race the entire time. So, I'm not trying to compare apples to apples. There's a reason why Cooper's a 2-time champion. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about learning, and that's kind of where I'm at this stage. I'm just watching these guys and just learning how things could be. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely been it's interesting race, and watching some of the guys that should be up there are not up there. So it's definitely a weird year.
People may forget you led A1 for a little bit. You were definitely on board for a podium before the mishap at A1, and then you had another crash at A2. But speed-wise and comfort-wise, coming into the season, I feel like you were the best you've ever been almost on a 450. You had the 2-year contract, which I know really took a big weight off your shoulders a couple years ago. So I feel like you were really just at your prime coming into the season.
Yeah. Again, I was definitely coming in, not necessarily with a chip on my shoulder, but just kind of leaving where I left off, just wanted to take things, nice and easy. And I'll never forget Anaheim 1, I was leading, and for some reason I was like, man, I have arm pump right now. And I was like, I've had arm pump before. And it's just all those little details. You're just like, man, we're having arm pump before halfway. This sucks, but I think a lot to do is because of the way the track was pretty sticky and nasty. So everybody was kind of struggling, and it's Anaheim 1, right? It's your very first race. So all the training you've done pretty much from October and so on is now it's here, so, but I always said when I had that crash at A1, it was kind of like, dang, like that sucked, the crash for basically 2 laps to go. And then, we go to San Diego and have one of the best rides of my life in a heat race. And then we make a small mistake in the main event. It's like, dude, like, come on now. Like what is going on? And then, the next week, we have a crash on Tuesday and mess my knee up. So it's like, it felt like it was a black cloud, covering me. And I sometimes always just say, God has a plan, and maybe this was the issue, so who knows? But I always just, again, I always try to say like it could be worse. I could, be in a way worse situation than this. But unfortunately, when that situation did happen for me, when I found out about the information about my knee, around that same time and around a few hours later, my teammate on the 250 class, Julie Swole, got injured. And it sounds in a weird way, it sounds super messed up, but I kind of felt a little relieved because I felt his pain because I couldn't imagine how he felt, and he didn't even get a chance to line up on the gate to show anything. So it kind of almost like, it was like kind of like kick yourself. It was like, man, like at least you got to see something, right? At least I won a heat race. At least I was the fastest qualifier. I got to lead some laps. There's some type of positivity that I can take out for the short amount of time I was dealt with versus a guy like him that's been training for 4 months, and didn't even get a chance to line up on the gate. So like, I couldn't imagine how he felt, you know what I mean? So that's why I was like, you know what, it's part of racing. This is what we do for a living, and we love every bit of it. But sometimes like those reality sets kick in, and you take those little moments for granted.
What actually happened in your practice crash that messed up your knee? Like, I don't think I've actually heard it from your side. So can you walk us through it a little bit?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, it was typical on a Tuesday, just at the KTM track, just doing laps. And I come over this it's like a little hip double, and really, really slow, kind of like one of those ones you kind of like just sit down, like, like I always try to explain like a hip jump. I don't really know how to do the best, but your legs propped out, you kind of load the bike. And as soon as I landed, I washed the front end out, and my leg got stuck under the bike somehow, and it just wrapped up. And when it first happened, I was like, man, that really, really hurt. And I was like, huh, like that was kind of weird. And when I went to go get back on the bike, that's when I was like, okay, like there's something that doesn't really necessarily feel right. So I pulled off the track, and it's when I went to go put my bike on the stand, and that kind of like that twist to put it on the stand, that's when I felt like something was really like not connected in the knee, like that dislocating feel. And I was like, okay, there's something going on here. But yeah, it was that crash, and it was kind of funny because it's funny now. I guess I can laugh about it, but as soon as I got up and rode off the track, like literally a lap later, RJ crashes in the exact same turn. So I was like, that turn was just biting everybody, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those jumps that, it was really slow. Just, I mean, nothing was out of the ordinary. Wasn't riding over my head. I was actually riding really, really good. Just like I said, I just put everything behind me and what happened on the weekend, and just went, focus forward, and boom, typical, so I've had thousands. I couldn't tell you how many millions of crashes I've had like that, but you guys already know it's all about how it happens and things like that. I just think my foot got stuck up under the bike, and somehow I twisted, and that's what happened.
What's the recovery time on this surgery? Do you know when you'll be back on a bike approximately?
Honestly, I mean, of course I know with a typical ACL and stuff like that, you're dealing with 6 months. You know, occasionally that's kind of like the rule of thumb, but I really I don't know because I've done a little bit more on this thing, but it really just depends on how the recovery process goes. On my side, I'm doing everything I can to try to hurry up and get back, but it's their knees, man. I never done one before, so I'm already having a hard time just trying to walk right now. So once I kind of get the ball rolling, it's I should have a little bit more of a time, but I guess right now we're shooting for a 6-month process.
Okay.
But who's to know? It's somewhere. It's always 6 months and 9 months. That's what I've heard.
Okay, Lewis.
Is there pressure for you to come back sooner rather than later? Like you just said, it sounds like a contract is in the works, so you don't have that pressure. But if it takes the whole year to recover from this thing, do you kind of have reassurance from the team and stuff that you can take your time, or do you feel some sort of pressure to get back and deliver some results?
I mean, of course you want to come back and rush, but as far as the team, I mean, they all understand and they respect it. And you know, again, you know, we're obviously talking and stuff like that, you know, trying to work things out for the following year. But if that's the case, then I think the team would kind of push back on me a little bit and make sure that this is coming. But again, I'm a racer, so I want to come back as fast as I can. But at the same time, I don't want to rush back and be in a situation where I re-hurt or re-injure this thing or have a problem with it down in the future too. So I'm more, I guess I would say I'm not panicking to a point where I need to rush back or anything like that. I'm just taking honestly day by day. And once I feel comfortable enough to where I can take this knee to the next step, that's when I'm going to get back on the motorcycle. But as far as the pressure with the team, of course, they're being very respectful to me about this whole situation and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a contract year, so I mean, of course, I can be left out with anything going into the next year. So, but this is I guess I would say I've been in these situations before, so I know kind of what to expect and what to do. But at the same time, there's not a lot I can do right now at this very moment except for take care of this knee.
Right. I did that interview with your mom recently. I don't know if you got to see it, but I asked her just about, helping you out when you're injured. And she's a mom. She's taking care of you like a mom, like you're a young child, according to her side, having to help you go to the bathroom. At least it's her story. I don't know if you read this, but I want to get your thoughts on having mom still taking care of you.
Dude, I mean, man, got to. I'll be the first one, man. I am a mama's boy to the heart.
Yeah.
Everything. My mom was like my best friend, so it's good to have a mom that's super supportive, and of course I can't take away dad. Dad's very supportive too.
No. Your mom said he just goes to bed,
but yeah, I cater to my mom because I know she's gonna do it. My dad's kind of give me like that, dad attitude. You can do it yourself, or try to push you. I told him he was so rough for me. My dad was so rough for me in the beginning of the surgery process. He was like, "Can you move your knee?" And I'm like, "I have a block on it, so I couldn't move it either way if I wanted to." But he was just being a dad, like, "Oh, you can do it. You can do it. Just ignore the pain, right?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Go call mom." So,
she was.
But yeah, no, it's awesome, man. Having mom, she's very supportive, and she take care of her boys.
She blew you out on your fear of stitches.
No, I'm bad with stitches. I still am. I'll admit, I'll pass out with stitches. Something about those things I don't like.